Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruch.com.
How often is one to learn Tanach? How much time in one's learning schedule should be dedicated towards the study of Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim? Does it receive priority to other subjects, or is it in the back of the list, while necessary to be learned, but not the first thing? Plenty of more Judaism to study before you reach Tanach. In a previous halacha, we discussed the absolute Torah obligation for men to become experts in the entire Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim, and study it until they are knowledgeable by heart of its content. However, all this did is added the learning of Tanach to the other subjects that we already knew that a Jew is required to have knowledge in, such as Mishnah, Talmud, Halacha. And the question still remains, now that we have so many things in our list that we must learn, what do we prioritize? And hence the question is, what should be a Jew's learning schedule and curriculum? And the answer to that question is also broad in Shulchan Aruch. Says the Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Talmud Torah, chapter 2, halacha 1. Although one may think that one must give priority to Tanach, as we already know is done with children, that the first thing we teach them is Chumash, and back in the day they were first taught the whole Tanakh for 5 years before they started learning Mishnah and Gemara, that's only because they don't have the mental maturity to study other subjects. However, says the Alter Rebbe, an adult who has not yet fulfilled his mitzvah of studying Tanakh and being an expert in it, states the Gemara in Kedushim, the Rishonim, and Poskim, he must split his learning schedule to 3, and is not to first learn the whole Tanakh and then proceed to other subjects, as he does not know how long he will live, and he has an obligation to study all the subjects. What are the 3 subjects in the curriculum of study that he must have daily? Says the Gemara in the Shulchan Aruch, Mikra, Mishnah, and Talmud. What is Mikra? Tanakh. Mishnah is halacha, and Talmud is the reasons behind the halachas. So while this is not very well known in practice, even though it's well known in theory, the ruling in Shulchan Aruch is you have to split your learning schedule to 3 topics. And Tanakh is one of them. So you have an obligation to learn Tanakh every single day in order to eventually fulfill the positive command of the Talmud Torah of becoming an expert in it. The Alter Rebbe goes on to write that this obligation of splitting your schedule to 3 subjects of Tanakh, Mishnah, and Talmud is a biblical obligation received from Moshe on Sinai. So it's not just a nice suggestion. It's part of the biblical mitzvah of Hilchos Talmud Torah. The Alter Rebbe goes furthermore and says in Halacha 9 that even one who doesn't have a very good memory and doesn't have a lot of time to learn, and he must dedicate all of his time to studying practical halacha so he knows what to do as a Jew, even he needs to once in a while set study times for Tanakh, as it comes before everything else. So in conclusion, one's daily learning schedule must include a subject called Tanakh. But now the question is asked, how much time? Okay, so I know I have to learn 3 subjects every single day in Torah. And Tanakh is one of them, but how much time? 5 minutes, 2 hours? How do I split up the time between the subjects? So we find amongst the Rishonim, between the Rambam and the Ran, a major debate regarding how to understand the Talmudic statement that one is obligated to split his time in 3 between the 3 subjects. Is it a literal split? So if you have 9 hours a day, you give each subject 3 hours, 3 hours for Tanakh, 3 hours for Mishnah, 3 hours for Talmud. Or does it mean split it into 3, but dedicate however amount of time is necessary per subject? So 20 minutes for Tanakh, 3 hours for Mishnah, and 5 hours for Talmud. Practically, the Alter Rebbe records both opinions in his Shulchan Aruch, Hilchos Talmud Torah, chapter 2, halacha 1 through 2. And he concludes, like the latter approach, the approach of the Ran, that it doesn't mean a literal split in time, but simply a split in curriculum. And you should dedicate however amount of time is necessary so you can finish eventually all these subjects. So if you study Talmud and Mishnah for 4 hours a day, and Tanakh only for a half hour a day, that is valid. While this is the position of the Alter Rebbe in his Shulchan Aruch, we do find that in the Likutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe seems to imply that one should literally split his time 1/3 for learning Tanakh every single day, like the approach of the Rambam, until he becomes well versed in it, and only then should he proceed to the second approach, which is learning Tanakh only a little bit per day. This study schedule of a daily learning of Tanakh must be followed, until one becomes an expert in it. Once he becomes an expert in it, the halacha is, as writes the Alter Rebbe there, that he may then spend the rest of his days and time studying the Talmud, studying the Mishnah, and once in a while review the Tanach in order so he does not forget its content. So to summarize, it is a biblical obligation for every male Jew to study and become an expert in Tanach. And due to this, he has a biblical obligation every single day to dedicate time towards learning Tanakh until he becomes an expert in it. Regarding the amount of time to dedicate, there is a dispute if it must be split equal to 3 parts between Tanakh, Mikra, and Mishnah and Talmud, or if you can dedicate more time to other subjects than to Tanakh, and practically rule that you can dedicate more time to other subjects than Tanakh, but you must dedicate sometimes towards Tanakh. Every single day. Until you become an expert in all of its details.
Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruchHarav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at ShulchanAruchHarav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.